In a quiet ancient African village, nestled beside a wide, winding river that glitters like molten gold under the setting sun. The evening air hums with life, drums echo faintly in the distance, women laugh as they pound yam in wooden mortars, and children chase one another through the dusty paths, their laughter rising above the whisper of the river breeze. Palm trees sway lazily, their leaves catching the dying light, and smoke curls softly from clay cooking huts. It is a place of rhythm, of heartbeat and heritage, a place where every breeze carries the breath of ancestors. The river itself is sacred, feared and worshipped in equal measure. The elders say it is alive, that it listens, remembers and avenges those who are wronged. At its heart, they say, dwell the ancient spirits of women who died unjustly, waiting in silence beneath the ripples for the day truth calls them back to the world above. Tonight, the river is calm, its surface shining like polished bronze, but its silence feels heavy, watchful. Adana walks along the riverbank with a calabash on her head, her steps light and graceful. She is 22, young, strong, and beautiful in a way that seems to belong to both earth and spirit. The villagers often whisper that the river loves her. It never splashes against her feet no matter how deep she steps. Her laughter, soft and sincere, is as clear as the flowing water. She hums a tune her mother taught her before she passed, an old lullaby that speaks of strength and patience. Children greet her as she passes. Adana, will you tell us another story tonight? One shouts. She smiles. Only if you promise to listen till the end. Her voice is warm, calm and kind, the kind of voice that makes even restless hearts settle. But not all hearts in this village rest easy when Adana passes. Two women watch her from the path above, Neka and Olama, sisters-in-law to her late father. Their eyes follow her every movement with a mixture of envy and disdain. Look how she walks, Neka mutters. As if the earth itself softens for her feet. Olama scoffs. Let her enjoy it while she can. Pride always meets its end in the river. Their laughter fades into the rustle of the tall grass. Adana kneels by the river and lowers her calabash into the cool water. Ripples spread outward, catching the sunset light like tiny shards of fire. She closes her eyes and whispers, Mother, if your spirit still walks these waters, watch over me. For a brief moment, the river answers. A soft breeze brushes her cheek, carrying the faint scent of her mother's old perfume. She smiles faintly, unaware of the dark intentions already forming in the shadows behind her. A group of elders walk past, their voices low. The chief has been asking about Adana again, one says. He will soon take her as his wife. Another sighs. That will not please Neka and Olama. They wanted their cousin for the chief. The men shake their heads, they know jealousy brews faster than any storm. As the sun sinks behind the forest, painting the sky in streaks of red and amber, Adana lifts the full calabash onto her head and turns toward home. Her silhouette glows against the last light, a figure of innocence and strength. Behind her, the river murmurs softly, as if it already knows the weight of the story that will soon unfold upon its banks. Somewhere among the reeds, a fish splashes, one then two, and the ripples linger longer than they should, circling in quiet patterns. In the deep places of the water, something ancient stirs. Adana walks on, smiling to herself, unaware that this will be the last evening she walks home as she always has, unaware that before dawn, her name will be whispered not in love but in fear. Night descends slowly over the village, thick and warm like dark honey. The fires burn low outside each hut, and the rhythmic sound of drums fades into the distance. Most of the villagers have gone to sleep, but inside a small hut near the edge of the settlement, two women sit facing each other in the dim glow of a flickering oil lamp. Their faces, half lit and half swallowed by shadow, twist with jealousy and quiet rage. Neka, the older of the two, sharp-boned and sharp-tongued, grinds bitter leaves with slow, deliberate force. Her sister-in-law, Olama, younger but equally venomous, stirs a pot of herbs until the air grows thick with their pungent scent. Between them, silence stretches, heavy, poisonous, until Neka finally speaks. She walks as if she owns the ground, Neka mutters, her voice cold. And now they say the chief will make her his wife. She spits on the floor. After all we've done for this village, he chooses a nobody like her? Olama lets out a sharp laugh. A nobody? They call her daughter of the river, as if the gods themselves carried her in their arms. Ah, it makes me sick. She leans closer, her eyes glinting in the weak firelight. If she becomes queen, what do you think will happen to us? She'll have our husbands bend their knees when she passes. Neka pauses, her hand tightening around the pestle. Then we cannot let that happen. The room grows colder, the night air pressing in like an unseen spirit. Crickets chirp faintly outside, and a faint breeze blows through the thatched roof, carrying whispers from the river. Olama shifts uncomfortably. You speak boldly, sister. But what can we do? The chief listens to her every word. If we accuse her, who will believe us? Neka smiles, a thin, cruel smile. The river will. Olama frowns, confused. What do you mean? Neka reaches beneath her wrapper and pulls out a small leather pouch tied with cowrie shells. She unties it carefully and spills the contents onto the ground, dark powder, crushed roots, and a single twisted bone. The old herbalist by the forest gave me this, she says in a low voice. He said it can turn the river against the purest of hearts. When she fetches water, the river will call her name and she will not return. Olama stares, her mouth slightly open. That is witchcraft. Neka shrugs. Call it justice. The lamp flickers. For a moment, it seems as if the shadows on the wall move of their own accord, bending, watching. A strange sound hums faintly outside, almost like the murmur of distant voices. Olama crosses herself with trembling hands. You said the herbalist warned us not to use such power carelessly. Neka leans in close, her breath hot with bitterness. Do you want to see her sitting on the chief's throne while we bow before her? Do you want our names forgotten while hers is praised in song? Olama shakes her head quickly. No. Never. Then it is decided. Outside, thunder growls faintly beyond the hills. The night feels heavy, thick with coming rain. Neka takes the pouch and walks to the door. We'll go to the river at first light, she says. Before the rooster crows. The river will listen then. Olama hesitates. And if the spirits hear us? Neka's voice hardens. They will not care. She is the one they love, not us. She steps outside, her bare feet pressing into the cool earth. The moonlight paints her face silver, her eyes glinting with malice. Behind her, Olama follows, clutching her shawl tightly as if to ward off what she cannot name. They walk quietly toward the river, the path lit only by the trembling light of the moon. Every rustle in the grass feels like a whisper. Every gust of wind sounds like a warning. When they reach the water's edge, Neka kneels, muttering words that twist like smoke. She sprinkles the dark powder into the river. The water ripples, faintly glowing where it touches the powder. For a moment, both women freeze. The river hums softly, like the sound of something ancient waking from deep sleep. Then the glow fades and silence returns. Neka straightens. It is done. Olama stares into the dark water, her heart pounding. What have we called upon? Neka turns back toward the village, her voice flat. Only justice. As they disappear into the night, the river stirs once more, a slow, circular ripple spreading from where the powder sank. Deep beneath the surface, unseen by mortal eyes, faint shapes move, glowing, shifting, waiting. The spirits have heard. Morning breaks over the village like a drumbeat, sudden, bright, alive. The sky glows gold above the palm trees, and the river glitters in the distance like a ribbon of light. But beneath the beauty there is unrest. A strange tension lingers in the air, the kind that makes chickens go quiet and old women mutter prayers under their breath. Down by the riverbank, villagers are gathering. A few fishermen whisper among themselves, pointing toward the water. Something happened here, something that does not belong to the waking world. Then she appears, Adana, the young woman the villagers call daughter of the river. Her skin glows in the morning sun, her long braids tied with blue beads that glint like droplets of water. She walks barefoot, carrying her clay pot, humming softly to herself. The song she sings is old, one her mother taught her, a song to honor the river spirits. But today, as she kneels by the river and dips her pot, the song dies on her lips. The water, once clear, ripples darkly. A cold wind rushes past, bending the reeds. The river seems to whisper, her name. Adana. She freezes. The pot slips from her hand and sinks beneath the surface. Her heart pounds. She steps back, one step then another, eyes wide. Who calls me? She whispers. No one answers. Only the river stirs, and in its depths she sees faint shapes, hands, faces, light flickering like fire beneath water. Then as quickly as it came, the vision fades. The river returns to calm. She runs back toward the village, the echo of her name still ringing in her ears. By midday the whole settlement buzzes with talk. She was seen running from the river. The spirits called her name. It's a bad omen. At the center of the crowd stands Neka, her eyes full of false concern. She speaks loudly, her voice trembling, the perfect mix of fear and pity. I told you, she cries. The river has rejected her. She has angered the gods. The villagers murmur, glancing uneasily at Adana, who stands apart, still trembling. I did nothing, she says quietly. The river called, but not in anger. But Neka steps closer, voice rising. You bring curses upon us all. The water turned dark because of you. Olama joins in, eyes darting nervously. We all saw it. The animals wouldn't drink. Even the fish are gone. The crowd shifts, uncertain. Some nod, others frown. An old man, Elder Dyke, steps forward, his voice calm but heavy. Silence, he says. The murmuring stops. Adana, is it true you went to the river before dawn? Yes, she says, voice trembling but firm. As I have done every morning. The river is my home. Elder Dyke's eyes narrow. And what did you see? Adana hesitates. The water moved, like something alive beneath it. But I felt no evil. Only sorrow. The crowd stirs again. Neka scoffs. Sorrow? Ah. That is what demons bring when they are trapped. Adana's eyes flash. You lie. The air thickens. Birds scatter from the nearby trees. Even the wind seems to hold its breath. Elder Dyke raises his hand. Enough. He turns to Adana. The river speaks to those who listen, but it also punishes the proud. If you have done anything to disturb its peace, confess now, and the gods may show mercy. Tears well in Adana's eyes. I have done nothing but love this river, she says softly. It is the breath of my ancestors. I swear it. But the villagers are already pulling away from her, whispering among themselves. Children hide behind their mothers. Someone spits on the ground. River witch, a man mutters. Neka lowers her gaze, hiding her smile. The seed of doubt has been planted. Elder Dyke sighs heavily. Until we know the truth, Adana will stay away from the water. Let no one approach the river tonight. The crowd slowly disperses, leaving Adana alone in the square. Her eyes glisten with hurt and confusion. From the edge of the crowd, a few young girls, her friends, glance at her sadly before turning away. When the last villager leaves, Adana kneels, pressing her hand to the earth. Mother River, she whispers. If I am guilty, take me. If I am innocent, show them your truth. A single drop of water falls from the sky and lands on her hand. Then another. But the sky above is clear. No clouds, no storm. She looks up slowly, fear and wonder mixing in her gaze. The spirits have begun to stir. As the sun sets, shadows stretch long across the village. From the forest edge, Neka and Olama watch Adana's hut. You see? Olama whispers. They believe you now. But Neka's smile fades. Believe yes. But if the river truly favors her, this is not over. She glances toward the water, where the faint shimmer of blue light dances beneath the surface, unseen by all but her. The river watches. And waits. Night falls heavy and strange over the village. The moon is full but veiled by drifting mist, painting the huts in ghostly silver light. Crickets sing but their song is uneven, broken, as if they too feel something stirring beyond the trees. Inside her hut, Adana lies awake, staring at the thatched ceiling. The air feels too still, too quiet. She hears the river even from here, the gentle lap of water against stone, but tonight it sounds different, softer like whispers, calling. She turns on her mat and covers her ears, trying to silence it. But the voice grows clearer, her mother's voice, faint but tender. My child, come. Her eyes snap open. She sits up, trembling. Mama, she whispers. Outside, the wind begins to rise, carrying with it the scent of rain, and something older, wilder. She steps out of the hut, barefoot, her white wrapper glowing faintly in the moonlight. All around her, the village sleeps. Only the river moves, a silver serpent winding under the mist. She walks toward it slowly, her feet brushing against the cool grass. The wind tugs at her braids, and the beads in her hair clink softly like distant chimes. When she reaches the riverbank, she stops. The surface of the water is unnaturally still like polished glass. The reflection of the moon stares back at her, but the face beside it is not hers. It is her mother's. Mother? Adana whispers again, stepping closer. The reflection smiles, sad, beautiful and glowing faintly blue. You were never alone, my daughter, the voice says, echoing from nowhere and everywhere. They lied to you. They lied to themselves. Adana drops to her knees, tears streaming down her cheeks. Why did they turn against me? What did I do? The voice softens. You carry what they fear, the gift to hear what they silence. The river chose you long ago. Adana's breath catches. The river chose me? The reflection nods. Then the water begins to shimmer, rippling outward. Shapes rise slowly from beneath, women made of mist and moonlight, their forms fluid, their eyes glowing like stars. They move around Adana in a circle, whispering in a language that feels both familiar and ancient. The daughters of the deep, her mother's voice murmurs. They remember. They will guide you. Adana watches transfixed. The spirits reach toward her, their hands not quite touching. The air hums with energy, and for a heartbeat she feels herself lift, weightless, luminous, as though she too belongs to the river. Then suddenly, a sound breaks the trance. A sharp crack, a branch snapping. She spins around. From the shadows, two figures emerge, Neka and Olama. They've followed her, clutching small calabashes filled with black powder and charms. Their eyes widen as they see the glowing spirits. She wasn't lying, Olama whispers, voice trembling. But Neka steps forward, fear twisted into fury. Witchcraft, she screams. She consorts with the dead. The spirits recoil, the light dimming slightly. Adana turns, panic in her voice. No. They're my ancestors. They mean no harm. But Neka hurls her charm into the water. It explodes in a puff of black smoke. The river ripples violently, the calm broken. The spirits wail, their forms scattering like mist. Adana gasps, stumbling forward. Stop. You don't understand. But Neka grabs her arm. You'll curse us all, she hisses. I'll end this tonight. They struggle near the edge of the water. The wind howls louder, lightning flashes far off. Olama screams, Neka, leave her, but it's too late, their feet slip on the wet earth. For a moment time slows. The moonlight freezes the scene, two women locked in a desperate grasp, before both tumble into the river. The splash echoes like thunder. Olama falls to her knees, crying out their names. The water churns violently, glowing faintly from below, blue and silver light twisting beneath the waves. Then silence. The river returns to stillness. No sign of either woman. The night wind dies down. The mist thickens, wrapping the riverbank in silence. Olama backs away, shaking, before running toward the village, screaming, "The river has taken them. The river has taken them both." But under the dark water, a faint glow begins to bloom again. Adana drifts deeper, her eyes closed, her hair floating like seaweed. Around her, the spirits return, their hands outstretched. Her mother appears once more, smiling softly. "You have answered the call, my child," she says. "Now rise, not as the accused but as the chosen." Adana's lips part, a breath of life returning. The river stirs. A new dawn waits to break. The dawn comes slow and heavy over the village. Mist still clings to the trees, and the air feels colder than it should. Birds do not sing this morning. The women fetching water at the riverbank stand frozen, their clay pots forgotten, their eyes wide with fear. Something is rising from the river. At first they think it's the fog, a shimmer on the surface. But then the water begins to churn, circles of light spiraling upward. The women scream and back away, clutching their wrappers tight. One drops her pot, it shatters on the rocks. From the center of the whirlpool, a figure slowly ascends, her skin gleaming like wet bronze, her eyes glowing faint blue. It is Adana. Her white wrapper clings to her, untouched by mud or stain. Her braids float weightlessly in the morning air, each strand catching the rising sun. Around her, ghostly forms ripple in and out of the mist, the river spirits, silent and watchful, their presence like the heartbeat of the water itself. A gasp spreads through the women. "It's her," one whispers. "The one they threw into the river," says another. "She's alive." "No, she's more than alive." Adana steps onto the shore, the water bending beneath her feet like glass. Every step she takes leaves a faint shimmer on the ground, and as she walks, the river behind her seems to follow, rising in small waves as if bowing to her. Her expression is calm, not angry, not vengeful, but solemn. Her eyes are different now, deeper. They seem to hold the reflection of both worlds, the living and the dead. The villagers gather quickly as the women run screaming through the village. The river has returned her. The spirits have sent her back. Men rush out with machetes, old women clutch their charms, children peek from behind the huts. The chief's drummers stop mid-beat as everyone crowds the clearing near the river. Then Olama stumbles forward from the crowd, her face pale and swollen from crying. Her voice trembles, she fell in. The river took her. I saw it. I saw the light. Adana turns her gaze toward her. "You saw truth," she says softly. Her voice is no longer quite human, It echoes faintly, layered with whispers, as though the river itself speaks with her. But you did not act when lies were told. Olama collapses to her knees, sobbing. Forgive me. I feared her. I feared what she would do. Adana kneels slightly, touching the woman's head. A ripple of light passes from her hand to Olama's shoulders. A blessing or a warning, none can tell. Fear blinds more hearts than evil does, she whispers. From the edge of the crowd, Neka's mother, old and bent, steps forward, trembling. Where is my daughter? She asks, voice breaking. Adana looks toward the river. The surface stirs, and for a heartbeat, Neka's reflection appears. Her face is pale, her eyes closed, her body drifting peacefully beneath the ripples. She is with the one she mocked, Adana says quietly. But the river has judged her. Her spirit is not lost, only silenced. The crowd gasps and murmurs. Some begin to kneel. Others avert their eyes. Then the chief himself approaches, his robe trailing the dust, his golden staff glinting in the weak light. He looks upon Adana with awe. What manner of being are you? He asks. Are you woman or spirit? Adana's gaze lifts to him, firm, steady. I was woman, she says. But when injustice filled the river, it made me more. The spirits have shown me truth, that the wicked drown not in water but in their own hearts. The chief bows his head. The gods have walked among us today. Adana turns her eyes toward the villagers, people who once gossiped, doubted, or looked away. You left me to die, she says softly, but the river does not forget. It remembers every kindness, every cruelty. A hush falls. The only sound is the quiet murmur of the river. Then slowly she steps closer to the crowd. Yet, she continues, the river also forgives. As it cleanses, so must we. The wind stirs gently. A few drops of water rise from the river and swirl through the air, landing on the faces of the villagers like rain. The air feels lighter, the heaviness begins to fade. An elder woman kneels first, weeping. Forgive us, Adana, she says. Forgive us for standing silent. Adana looks skyward as the mist begins to lift. The first true rays of dawn pierce the clouds, bathing her in gold. Let this day remember, she says softly, that no heart drowned in truth will ever stay buried. And with that, she turns toward the river once more. The spirits part for her, forming a shining path across the water. She steps onto it, her feet leaving trails of light behind her. The villagers watch in stunned silence as she walks slowly toward the heart of the river. When she reaches the middle, she pauses and looks back, a faint smile on her face. Then, like mist at sunrise, she fades, leaving only the echo of her voice upon the water. Rise when they bury you. Speak when they silence you. The river always remembers. The ripples fade. The morning begins. In the days that followed, the village was never the same again. The air around the river grew still and reverent, as if the land itself had bowed its head in remembrance. No one fetched water without whispering a quiet prayer first. The children stopped playing near the water's edge. And when the moon rose high and bright, the elders claimed they could see her, Adana, the river maiden, walking along the surface, her reflection shining brighter than the moon itself. Word spread beyond the borders of the village. Travelers brought tales of the woman who rose from death, carried by spirits. Some said she became the guardian of the river, protector of the innocent and avenger of the betrayed. Others claimed she was a goddess reborn, half mortal, half divine. But for the villagers who had seen her with their own eyes, it was simpler. They had seen truth made flesh. They had seen justice carried by water. At dusk, the chief called for a gathering beneath the giant Irako tree, the same tree that had watched generations live, sin, and die. The villagers came with calabashes of palm wine, cola nuts, and mats to sit upon. The air was heavy with the scent of burning wood and wet earth. Fireflies drifted lazily through the air, their golden lights flickering like tiny souls. The chief elder, gray-haired and solemn, stood and raised his staff. The river has spoken through our daughter, he said. We have seen the cost of envy, the poison of lies, and the mercy of spirits. Let the name Adana never be spoken in shame again. The crowd murmured, their heads bowed. Some wept quietly. Olama sat near the front, her eyes red from tears, clutching a small white cloth, the wrapper Adana had worn on the night she vanished. She had found it on the riverbank that morning, folded neatly beside the stones. When the drums began to play, they were slow and mournful, not for grief but remembrance. The young girls danced in white wrappers, their movements graceful, echoing the ripples of water. The old women sang softly, their voices trembling like the rustle of leaves. She sank in sorrow, she rose in light. The river's child, the spirit's might. Let truth be water, let lies be sand. For the river remembers the hearts of man. As the song spread, people began to sway. Even the chief, proud and dignified, bowed his head. Later that night, when the fires had dimmed and the people began to return to their huts, a small group of children crept back to the river. They knelt by the bank, eyes wide. The moon shone full and the river glowed faintly. One of the children whispered, "Do you think she's still there?" Before the others could answer, a soft ripple spread across the surface, just one, gentle and perfect. And in the water's reflection, for a single heartbeat, they saw her, Adana's face, smiling softly, eyes filled with light. The children gasped and clasped hands, too afraid to move. Then her voice, faint and warm, drifted over the water. "Be kind. Be true. For the river listens." And just like that, the image faded, the river returning to its calm, endless whisper. The children ran home shouting, "We saw her. We saw her. The river maiden smiled at us." Their laughter carried through the night, pure, bright, and fearless. For the first time in many days, the village felt alive again. In the distance, the wind stirred the trees and the river shimmered under the moonlight, not with sorrow but with peace. And so the legend began, the story of Adana, the river maiden, who rose from betrayal and death to remind her people that even in the darkest waters, light can be reborn. From that day on, whenever the sun set and the river turned gold, mothers told their children, "Do not mock the weak, do not betray the kind, and never cast the innocent into the river, for one day the water may rise to speak their truth." And the children would listen, their eyes wide and shining, as the river sang softly in the background, its eternal hymn of memory and mercy. Years passed. The river still flowed, calm and clear, winding through the same golden fields and forests that had seen Adana's rise. The village grew, new huts, new faces, new lives, but the memory of that night never faded. It became a part of the land, of the water, and of every whisper that stirred through the reeds at dusk. Now, on cool evenings, when the moon hung low and the stars blinked like watchful eyes, the villagers gathered around great fires to hear the story again. Children sat cross-legged in front, their faces glowing orange in the light, while elders leaned on their staffs, nodding to each word. At the center sat Grandmother Igioma, one of the oldest women in the village, her voice soft as wind, yet strong as stone. She had seen much in her time, and she told stories not just to entertain but to remember. Tonight, she raised her wrinkled hands and began. Once there was a girl named Adana, the river's child. The children gasped softly, though they had heard the tale 100 times. Still, every telling felt new. The way Grandmother Igioma's voice trembled when she spoke of the betrayal, the way her eyes glimmered when she spoke of the spirits, it was as if she carried the memory in her very bones. She was cast into the water by envy and fear, the old woman continued, her tone steady and rhythmic. But the river does not take the innocent. The spirits raised her, and she returned not as the broken but as the blessed. The crackle of the fire filled the silence between her words. Sparks rose into the night like glowing tears. The children leaned closer. "Some say she walks the water still," Igioma said, pointing toward the dark river beyond the trees. "When the moon is bright and the night is quiet, you may see her reflection, a woman in white, her eyes shining with light. If you do, do not run. Bow your head and speak truth, for she hears only the honest heart." A little girl whispered, "Did you ever see her, Grandmother?" Igioma smiled faintly, her eyes distant. "Once," she said. "The night your mother was born. The river rose high after the rains and I saw her standing by the bank, her hair glimmering like starlight. She looked at me and said, 'Tell them I remember.' And so I do." The flames crackled louder as the night deepened. Owls called from the trees. Beyond the firelight, the river shimmered faintly in the moon's glow. The villagers sat in silence, hearts heavy with wonder. Then Grandmother Igioma's voice softened, her final words carrying like a prayer. "Remember, my children, water is not only to drink, it is to witness. Every tear you cry, every kindness you offer, every cruelty you commit, the river sees it all. And when the time is right, it will speak." A hush fell over the crowd. Even the wind seemed to listen. Somewhere beyond the fields, the river sighed, long, gentle, and eternal. The fire burned lower, its embers glowing red. The children drifted to sleep against their mother's arms, their dreams filled with silver water and soft voices calling their names. And as the last flame flickered out, the night whispered Adana's name, not in sorrow, not in fear, but in reverence. "The river remembers."